And understand, I know that probably gives some people an opportunity to turn their lives around, and then become a better person. But that's just probably not a good place to start. The judge. I mean, you're just getting a person who's not really geared or ready to do what you need to do in the army.
Right. I mean, I understand they think that this is going to teach somebody discipline.
Yeah, I think it's an old mentality,
But if
old
you're
school.
just like a shitbird,
yeah.
You're not. No.
So
it's not going to work.
you're giving the people who don't turn their lives around a pass on jail, and then subjecting other regular people who want to be in the army to this
normal functioning people who truly want to be there and want to succeed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when it comes to these two, Glover and Fisher, Winchell was head and shoulders above and beyond these guys. I mean, he was outperforming them at every opportunity.
These guys are exhibiting antisocial behavior on many levels.
And he was an exemplary soldier. I mean, people will say hands down, Barry Winchell was really, he needed to be there. Like, he was really good at what he was doing. And that these two were just sort of like fuck ups and.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I'll do that instead of this. And then they're there fucking everything up for everybody else.
So on this particular evening, Glover was talking shit at this keg party. They're hanging out the barracks, 4th of July evening, having a kegger, sitting around shooting the shit, right? So here's Glover telling all these crazy stories about doing drugs, robbing banks, being really outlandish.
Doesn't sound real.
Going on until Winchell finally told him to sit his cherry ass down and shut up. We're all sick of your lies.
Okay.
Because he was just really tired of hearing Glover's bloviated stories.
I'd say that was the feeling of the entire room or
This
area.
infuriated Glover. He jumps up. He threatens to hit Winchell. Fisher sort of jumps in the middle of the two, is like, hey, no, like, we're having a party, calm down. Glover's been drinking all day. I think he'd had something like 17 beers. He's just fucked up, being obnoxious. Finally, Glover tells Fisher, you need to move, and so Fisher finally gets out of the way. Glover reaches down and tries to grab a beer bottle out of Winchell's hand.
All right.
Fails. Finally, Winchell puts the bottle down and then just punches Glover like 4 or 5 good times in the face. Then he tackles him to the ground and is just holding him there because he knew that Glover was just going to come up swinging and try to fight back, right?
Yeah.
So as this is happening, I guess there was like a senior enlisted officer, NCO walking by. So they try to break it up. Oh, we were just wrestling. The senior officer's like, is everything okay? Makes them like do a handshake. Glover's refusing to do the handshake.
Oh, wow.
Well, Winchell leaves the party. He reportedly felt bad about what had happened.
See, he's just a genuinely good dude.
He doesn't want to fight this guy. He's not trying to have like a beef with this dude. He just is like, dude, you're drunk.
Obnoxious.
Settle down. Like, this is not the end of the world. So he comes back, apologizes, tries to offer Glover another beer. He's refusing. Winchell's like, hey, man, I have some Southern Comfort in my room. Do you want some of that? I'll go get it. And Glover's just like, nah, being a crybaby.
He's just a dick.
Fisher and Glover keep hanging out. Winchell goes back upstairs, goes to bed. They're hanging out in Glover's room, and Fisher is egging him on. He's like, you got your ass kicked by a faggot. Fisher continues teasing him, telling him everybody thinks he's a pussy. How could you let this gay guy kick your ass? That's so embarrassing. Just going on and on.
What a dumbass.
Winchell was sleeping in a cot. So Winchell and Fisher shared this room together, but Winchell had this duty of caring for the company's mascot, which was a dog named Nasty. Fisher refused to have this dog in their room. So like right outside of their barracks room, Winchell had like a bunk, like a cot set up, and he would sleep there when he was taking care of the dog. So he's up there sleeping, watching the dog for the evening. Fisher tells Glover, we should go beat his ass. And Glover's getting all pumped up, or yeast up, as you say.
Yeasted up.
He's all pumped up. He's pacing around. He's angry, cussing this guy. I should beat his ass. You're right. I should I should kick his ass. Nobody's going to, do this to me, embarrass me, whatever. He grabs a baseball bat and begins making these chopping motions. And is like, I should just go beat his ass with this bat. And Fisher's like, yeah, man, you should go do that.
That is the worst for Glover's personality. He's drunk as hell. I mean, just tell him to hush. Just, dude, come on. It'll be all right. Y'all talk about it tomorrow. Anything but egging him on. That's the worst thing you could do with him right now.
The two sneak up to the hallway where Winchell is sleeping. Glover raises the baseball bat and brings it down, hitting a sleeping Winchell probably a good 5 times in the head.
What a coward.
In court documents, they would describe his skull cracking like an egg. The scene is horrific. Brain matter is oozing from his ear.
Oh, my God.
Blood is pouring from his nose, eyes, ears. He's gurgling, barely breathing, but he's still alive.
That could you imagine?
These two leave, probably a good 10 minutes, to go smoke, trying to figure out what they're going to do. They return. Glover hits Winchell in the face with his fist.
So even after the first incident, him striking him with the bat, no one's like, oh my God, what have we done? What have you done? We need help. Get him help now. So even then, they could have done something to help him. And it comes back and hits him again in the face? What the hell?
They think he's dead, so they're immediately scrambling, trying to figure out what to do. Fisher tells Glover, you need to go. Go away. Glover's bolts, gets the hell out of there. Fisher starts screaming, calling for help. Because get this, in the barracks, you couldn't call 911 from inside the barracks.
Why? You couldn't even call the military police?
Hell if I know. There's no way to call out. He pulls the fire alarm.
All right.
Of course, soldiers wake up. They're thinking, it's the 4th of July. The early morning hours, getting into the 5th. Everybody's drunk as fuck. Some asshole pulled the fire alarm. I know, I've been there before. And you're like, what the fuck? You have to get up. You have to vacate the building. Soldiers are coming out of their rooms, trying to figure out what's going on. And they see Winchell.
This horrific scene.
Yes. And there's blood everywhere. The crime scene photos are very disturbing.
Yeah, that one soldier said he's still barely breathing, but you see blood bubbles coming out of his nose. I mean, what would you think if you stumbled upon this?
What the fuck?
What the fuck happened?
They find this bloody mess around Winchell. Eventually, the ambulance is called. They transport him to Vanderbilt University. His parents are phoned. Everybody's scrambling, trying to figure out what happened. And initially, the Army believes that he was kicked by another soldier.
Yeah, okay. That's what they're telling people, right? He's been kicked by another soldier.
The Army CID comes to investigate the scene. They desperately try to squash the story, making it out that it was just some sort of altercation between two soldiers.
All right, so they're being very vague about it, sounds like.
The public affairs release a brief description of this altercation between two soldiers, and that's basically what it is. I mean, it just doesn't give any more information than that.
Yeah, and didn't I hear you quote, we were talking about people earlier who said there's typically a little more information about that, even if it's an accident or an incident. There's a little more information like what we're really dealing with, but they were rather vague.
It was very vague. But somehow the media got a hold of the story and the details started coming out about Winchell's sexuality and what had truly been happening on the base. Now, the crime scene was ordered to be cleaned up immediately afterwards. They've barely investigated this, and they're telling soldiers, we got to clean this mess up. So these guys come in, start cleaning up this crime scene, which I think is crazy. There's evidence. I mean, I don't understand that part.
It's just not good for so many reasons. Even if I was a soldier, one of the privates there, I'd be like, yeah, I think this is illegal what I'm doing. I mean, this is a damn crime scene, bruh.
At muster, because, after they discover Winchell, they have this sort of emergency muster. Everybody's required to come and be present and accounted for, that kind of thing. Glover's missing.
Uh-oh.
He is the only one not in ranks. This is suspicious. Raises a red flag. So he immediately becomes a suspect. As they start to investigate Glover, they find blood-stained pants in the dumpster that belong to him, and in his room they find bloody fingerprints basically all over the room.
Okay.
Glover's arrested, and when he's taken into custody, he told other inmates he'd killed Winchell because he doesn't like fags.
Oh, yeah. Well, so there you go. So I'm surprised they didn't have people come in there and clean all that up right quick. Dumbasses.
By July the 8th, which is just a couple of days after this, they arrest Fisher. He admits that he urged Glover on, and he had even taken the bat and washed it.
He's complicit in this thing completely. I mean, what the hell?
In the hours following Winchell's beating, Fisher had sent texts to friends saying things like, "I've got something to tell you. You'll never believe what happened."
It sounds like he's proud of it.
Now, eventually, Glover is found guilty and sentenced to life in prison. Fisher took a plea deal and was given a 12-and-a-half-year sentence. The two served their time at Leavenworth, with Fisher being out after only 7 years. What a lenient sentence.
Yeah, because, I mean, out in the public, not the military, you can get all kinds of life terms connected in any way to a murder. Be it you drove the people there, then the murder happened. You planned a robbery, then the murder happened. You know, all these different ways. But that seems very lenient.
Glover's defense lawyer, who is a military lawyer, really tried to play it up like Glover was almost like the victim in all of this.
This naive kid.
He's this 18-year-old kid. He's really naive. He was embarrassed.
He had a lot to drink.
This had nothing to do with Winchell's sexuality.
Oh, Lord, no. It's just, got out of control. I was listening to that guy. You were playing that for me earlier.
Fisher, was really urging him on, egging him on.
No personal responsibility accepted. Even Glover talking about it was just like, oh, I went out there with the bat and he kept on, and it's like I didn't know what I was doing. And then I kind of lightly hit him one time, and then Winchell jumped up and it scared me, and then out of reflex struck. I mean, what a coward.
And
what a damn coward.
And they're like, oh, well, it wasn't like this was a premeditated murder.
Oh,
and
it's not
like,
premeditated?
When you grab a baseball bat and you take to beating someone in the skull, I would say that's premeditated.
It's premeditated. You went and got the weapon. You were there's no kind of, long after the altercation that, happened earlier in the evening. This is the definition of premeditated. Go back out to where he's at, strike him, leave.
And then come back
and assault him again. So, I mean, there's just no way to say this is not premeditated murder. Military justice is they frame things very oddly.
Glover is a fucking narcissist. Like, just, ugh.
Nothing's my fault. They made me do it. All this bullshit. No personal responsibility. And obviously, Justin was a total asshole for egging him on. Did he add to this? Yeah, definitely. He was complicit. And yeah, it was
an accessory.
An accessory, but it doesn't forgive in any way anything that Glover did. You can't lean. I mean, that's such bullshit.
Well, I think the thing that strikes me in this story is that Fisher obviously had some internalized homophobia.
Yeah, and you know what? The people who is super homophobic, it's because they've had these feelings they don't want to. A lot of times, I think it happens. They've had experiences or feelings they're either embarrassed about and don't want to admit to anyone, or they just haven't figured themselves out and they won't admit it to themselves. That's what that shit boils down to.
I mean, and I'm just speculating here, but I feel like Fisher created this situation and brought all of this attention onto Winchell, like shines the spotlight on him. He's gay, starts spreading all these rumors and gossip about Winchell, probably in hopes that like nobody's going to notice that, hey, I'm the one that's been going to the gay club and is bringing people to the gay club. I'm the one initially that was making out with a transsexual, and I'm the one that likes to wear, lingerie under my clothing. So he's just totally trying to like point the attention elsewhere.
I do not get that as a typical bully.
I don't get it either.
Total shit. And so, like you said earlier, the don't ask, don't tell. This kind of lit a bit of a pretty big firestorm after this poor guy was killed, right? And so, a lot of people felt that it contributed to creating a toxic environment, right? An environment that everything you just described would likely happen in. And like the Service Member Defense Network were prominent critics of the policy for obvious reasons. I mean, it's just such a bad idea in so many ways.
I should mention that Barry Winchell did live like 2 days after the assault, and his parents, when they showed up at Vanderbilt, I mean,